Hello people, Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be dissertating and discussing the games for NFL Week 17 2012 season, so let me get right to them. First game, I'm going to take Atlanta at home over the Tampa Bay Bucks. Yes, Atlanta basically has, they've seized control of that conference. They are going to be the number one seed regardless whether they win or lose this one. But I'm taking, I think one of the coaches said earlier this week that Atlanta is still going to go out and full throttle and try to win basically. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to pick Atlanta. Next game, Buffalo Bills. I'm going to take them at home over the Jets. The Jets are, pretty much, floundering. They have not really looked impressive, especially this latter part, of this season. And with the exception, ironically, for that first game when they annihilated Buffalo, the Jets have not really had many impressive victories this year. So, and this is on the road. I think Buffalo's going to go out with a win at home. They want to get revenge on the Jets for that loss earlier and make, avenge it. So, take the Bills in this one. Next game, I'm going to take Baltimore on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe Cincinnati has clinched a playoff spot, and if I'm not mistaken, they clinched their seed along with the Indianapolis Colts. So I think Baltimore has, a little more incentive in this particular game because Baltimore is trying to get a higher seed. So I'll go with the Ravens and, the non-ravenous defense, but still I think they're good enough to win this game on the road. Next game, I'm going to take Chicago on the road against the Detroit Lions. Chicago is vying for a playoff spot. They got a little more impetus than Detroit. I believe they're like 7-1 or 8-1 in either the last 8 or 9 meetings against the Lions, and I think they'll continue this, their domination of Detroit in recent years in this game. Next game, I'm going to take Tennessee Titans at home over the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is, I guess, one of those toilet bowl games this week, against these two robust juggernaut teams. But I believe Tennessee at home, they're a little better on paper and personnel than they are at home. They're just good enough to beat the Jaguars. Next game. This is going to be a tough one, but I'm going to take Houston on the road versus the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis, yes, I know partly they want to avenge what happened earlier when they lost to Houston earlier in the season, but I think Indy, because they have clinched that, I believe, that playoff spot, and Houston has a little bit more to play for because they're trying to get, I think possibly top dog in the AFC conference. They probably need to win this game in order to get it, possibly. So I believe Houston Texans, despite floundering and looking, haven't really been playing as well the last several weeks, especially their pass defense has, almost been everything but atrocious. I'm going to go with them. Next game, I'm going to take the Saints at home over the Carolina Panthers. The Saints, Drew Brees said earlier this year that the book has yet to be written on the Saints. Well, unfortunately, the final chapter installment will be in this game, and they're out of the playoffs, but I still think they're going to play with a little pride and some heart, and that is at home. I believe they will conquer Carolina in this game, and at least end the season, with a solid win for them. Next game, Giants at home over the Philadelphia Eagles. The Giants right now, are a team, it seems like fairly, is combustible. They looked good several weeks ago. They looked like they were riding high, and, they're on this rampage. They look like they're going to win the division, 2 games up, with 5 games left or something. And now it's a team that just really has struggled lately, and I believe, even though they've had some struggles, they are playing the Eagles, they are at home, and that'll be enough right there. The Giants don't have to be 100% to beat the Eagles at home, and I believe they will do this. Pittsburgh Steelers at home over Cleveland Browns. Pittsburgh is not the team, they once were. They're not, they have not played as well this year. I know Big Ben was out for a little bit, but still, they're just, on the whole, collectively, this team has just not been the same. But they are good enough to beat the Browns at home. I know they lost earlier to Cleveland this season, but they'll avenge that loss. And I think, with Big Ben back, this should be a, fairly, decisive win for the Steelers. Next game, San Diego Chargers at home over the Oakland Raiders. Earlier this season, Philip Rivers said that, for the Chargers, said this was going to be some year of vindication and redemption for him. Well, it really hasn't panned out that way. He's one of the, top dogs in INTs in the NFL, I believe. But I believe they still have enough in the tank to beat, an Oakland team that just hasn't exactly flourished this season. Next game, I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers at home over Arizona. The only thing that Arizona might keep them in the game is, possibly their defense and Fitzgerald. Other than that, there's really nothing that's going to keep them in contention in this ball game. San Francisco is at home, and they're not going to be in a good mood after, the debacle that took place last week at the hands of the Seahawks. So I think this is definitely a fairly easy win for them. Next game, speak of this team, Seattle Seahawks. 7-0 at home this year. I believe they've outscored their opponents by about 120 points in the last 3 games or so. That's right in the top 5 in NFL history over a 3-game span. Defense is playing solid. I really the passing offense is not one of the best right now in the league, but when you have a juggernaut defense like they do, and if the play is so staunch and has the safeties the way they play, this team at home is everything but invincible. I believe Seattle wins this game at home. It's going to be a tough game, but I'm going to take Green Bay on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not sure what's going on with Adrian Peterson, the running back for Minnesota now. Green Bay, I believe they're going to have enough in the tank to get this win, and I believe something just tells me that they're going to go into Minnesota and find a way to win. Things might point more to Minnesota, but I think I'll go with Green Bay in this one. I think they want to continue playing strong into the playoffs. Next game, New England at home. I'll take them over the Miami Dolphins. New England right now, they don't have to necessarily play stellar defense to beat, team, like Miami, a mediocre team, or a team that's, not an upper echelon team, somebody near the bottom. I think New England, they do have the proponents needed to get the job done in this game. They're playing, New England is playing very well offensively, and Miami, might be, they're not bad, but New England, they're going to beat New England. You're going to have to score probably about 35 points, and I just don't see Miami doing it. Next game, Denver at home. Take them over the Kansas City Chiefs. Denver right now has been ranked number 1 in some polls, and I could see why. Peyton Manning, I believe, is the number 1 quarterback rating in the NFL right now. This team has all kinds of offensive weapons, and the defense is just playing adequately, just enough to win. And Denver has been relentless right now, and this is the team obviously to look out for in the postseason. As you know, that the team that plays well, down the stretch, kind of like Seattle in the NFC, those are the teams right now, that really look formidable, I believe, in the respective conferences. I'll go with Denver in this one. Washington, I'm going to take them at home over the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Washington, there was some talk this week. I saw something where I think there was some analyst that said something about, maybe their secondary, their defense hasn't looked, as strong maybe as it could be. Maybe they're a little banged up on the defensive end. But I believe this is the season that, Washington's destined to win that division, and I just don't think they're going to squander this opportunity on the last game of the regular season for them. The Dallas Cowboys, Tony Romo has played, lights out. He's been, playing a phenomenal level, one of his best seasons ever, and the Cowboys are winning the tight games, not doing what they did last year when they'd have that lead toward the end and then they'd squander it, and then ultimately they'd wind up losing a number of close games. They're doing the opposite, but I just believe this is kind of a destiny thing, and I think the Redskins will pull this out at home and get that NFC East Division title. Well, people, that will be it for this edition of my NFL picks, prognostications, or whatever for Week 17 of the 2012 season. And I'll see you the next week. I'll be giving my picks for the wild card round for the playoffs. Until next time, people, stay well.